Hi and welcome to this free video tutorial series from Pro Tools Expert, looking at the Dolby Atmos home entertainment workflow. In the first episode of this series, we took a brief look at the input and output device settings for the Dolby Atmos production suite. If you need to ensure that you have trouble-free operation without any issues with clocking, digital audio splats, or discontinuities in timecode, then there is a certain workaround that Dolby and Avid would recommend that you undertake. This advice is generally for people using a third-party non-Avid audio interface or a soft audio interface such as the Dante Virtual Sound Card. The first thing you will have to do is ensure that both Pro Tools and the Dolby Atmos renderer are no longer running. Close any setup windows you have and quit both applications. Next, you'll need to bring up the Audio MIDI setup page on your Mac. If it is not already open, make sure that you show audio devices on the Window menu. First, go to the Pro Tools Aggregate I/O settings. Click on the built-in output and make sure that your sample rate matches both your Pro Tools session and what's set in the Dolby Atmos renderer. Then go to the plus sign at the bottom of the list of audio devices and select Create Aggregate Device. Rename this something obvious like Aggregate Output. Then first select the physical or soft interface that you are wanting to use to output your audio. In my case, it's the Focusrite Thunderbolt interface. Then select the Dolby Audio Bridge. It's important that this is done in this exact order so that the outputs of your physical interface are before the outputs of the Dolby Audio Bridge. Then select the clock source as the Dolby Audio Bridge, and under Drift Correction, enable this on your interface. In my case, the Focusrite Thunderbolt interface. Once again, check that the sample rate matches that of your Pro Tools session and that of your Dolby Atmos renderer session. Now you can reopen the Dolby Atmos renderer. You will see now that an audio driver error message has come up, and this is because you have changed the technical aspects of the interfaces that the Dolby Atmos renderer is working with. Click OK to dismiss this and go to the Preferences window in the Dolby Atmos renderer. There you will be able to reselect your audio input device and your output device. So as per last time, your input device is the Dolby Audio Bridge, and your output device is now the aggregate output. Click Accept once you're happy. You can now open Pro Tools. Before you open up any of your sessions, check in the playback engine setup that it is set to the Dolby Audio Bridge. Also, check that your I/O setup and your various other settings are the same as your setup in the first episode of this series. As you can see, Pro Tools and the Dolby Atmos renderer are now communicating perfectly and transmitting audio between them and the audio interface without clicks or timecode discontinuities. If you need more detailed advice for working with Avid hardware such as HD Native or HDX, then this can be found within the Applications folder for the Dolby Atmos renderer suite. Open your Applications folder on your Mac, open the Dolby folder and the Dolby Atmos renderer folder, and within that you will find a documentation folder. Open the Dolby Atmos renderer guide. Within that guide, the section you're looking for is section 10.3. In this section, you can find lots of good advice for various hardware setups and various software setups for use with the Dolby Audio Bridge, the Dolby Atmos Production Suite, and Pro Tools. And it includes specific advice for using the hardware setup menu for HDX hardware. The reason for these somewhat complicated setups of the aggregate devices and clocking sources is because when you are using the Pro Tools Dolby Audio Bridge as the playback engine for Pro Tools, then Pro Tools itself cannot clock or lock to any other device, as currently stands. So that's Dolby and Avid's recommendations for how we should work with Pro Tools and the Dolby Atmos Production Suite. But there are other ways of doing this. Come back for episode 3, where we'll explore some of the alternative workflows to achieve the same results and more. See you next time.